Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. How tight should you really be holding your racket before you swing? Got Coach Rob with me. We'll explain. All right, guys, so I got Coach Rob with me. We're going to explain to you how tight you should be holding your racket. I feel like when I was growing up, I'm not sure if you were taught this way, but with the wooden rackets, we were taught to hold it firmly with the continental grip. Obviously, it was leather, fairway grips. So if you didn't hold it firm, it would spin in your hand.
And the racket heads were much smaller, so you had way more off-centered hits possible, right? Since the ball was the size of the sweet spot.
And it weighed like a pound.
Right.
So it's changed since then. I mean, I would say when I was taught, they said to hold it firmly, right? So I don't remember firm, like what that really meant, but let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the death grip on here, how firm do you recall?
I think it was probably a 7, because when we were playing with the wood, if you didn't hold it tight enough, the thing went like this because it was so heavy.
Right.
So you had to hold it with some stability to keep the racket head up, so you weren't walking around looking like
a little lip?
Like it was way too heavy for you.
Okay. But I mean, times have changed. Rackets have gotten lighter. Okay. We're gonna explain where and how tight you should be holding the racket through your swing now. Now we're gonna explain it through the forehand. Okay. So Coach Rob, when you Now, let me quickly just do this. 1 is this, okay? 1 is that. I don't have it, okay?
Right.
2 is like I got gaps going on here. I'm just barely doing this, okay? There is no, okay? And then 3 is just a little bit more closed in the gaps. So I got room in my fingers still, but I'm not over gripping it, okay? Now, the opposite side, 10 is like this, okay?
You can see his muscles flexing.
10 is like this.
Way
you see,
too tight.
See this? Okay? 10 is like that. I'm like death gripping this. It is not coming out of my hand. All right? So we're going to take you through the steps of how and where you should start gripping loose to tight, okay? But before we do that, how do you teach your kids how tight to grip it?
Well, for a lot of kids, adults, usually you want to teach them that your left hand, if you're assuming you're right-handed, that your left hand is in charge of holding the racket.
Okay.
That if your right hand is so tight, you can't change the grip if you get a backhand because you're stuck in that grip. So your left hand is in charge of holding, and then your right hand is relaxed. So that way, if a backhand comes, you change your grip. If it's a forehand, you can move your hand over. But if you're stuck just holding it with one hand really tight or firm or too firm, 1, you can never get the grip change in time, and 2, your arm's probably going to start hurting you.
Right.
So
most pressure on the left, so that you can either switch or switch.
Right.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're just going to be walking around carrying a club.
When I was taught with graphite rackets back in the day, in the 80s, one of my coaches actually said, grip your forehand. And so go ahead and grip your forehand, okay? And he basically took like this and ripped it up. Oh, he said, that's too tight. That's too tight, right? And then he goes, hold it looser. Okay, better, but I still felt tension, okay? Now, hold it as loose as you can before you drop the racket. See? That is basically how tight he said you have to hold it, where I can rip it out of your hand easily. Have you ever been taught that?
No, that's the first time I've ever done that.
Really?
Really, which is probably why I was like, hey, give me my racket back.
So yeah, no, literally the guy, I don't remember who it was, but he was definitely a coach, and he basically said, grip your forehand grip, and then he like, went like this, right? He's like,
Right.
that's too tight. And then he said, if I can't rip that racket out of your hand, you're gripping it too tight.
Right.
So I'm glad I was able to teach Coach
Threw
Rob
me
something.
new.
Let's start with ready position, okay? So this is ready position. Coach Rob, on a scale of 1 to 10, where should I be?
Probably a 3.
A 3. Okay. So
Enough where you can still move your hand when you have to make a grip change.
Got it. And then, so where am I when I start rearing back for the shot here?
So when you're turning, your hand's still at 3.
3.
Right. You're starting to come forward. Now you're going 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
You're squeezing up.
6,
probably 6, 7 when you make contact.
Right.
And then you're loose again at the end. So now you're back to 2 or 3 at the end of your swing.
Wow, that's a lot
so that
to
way
think
you're
about.
catching it. Well, so we're doing numbers, so it makes it more complicated. We're making it more wordy, but if you think loose back, firm to hit, and loose at the follow through.
I feel like when that same coach that ripped the racket out of my hand taught me, he said, grip it as loose as you can that you're comfortable with. Your brain will never let you let go of the racket. So it'll naturally squeeze upon impact. Do you follow that theory?
Yeah, it does, it makes sense. But, most of the time people are, trying to be they're so tight all the time that then when they go to hit the ball, their hand relaxes because they've been death gripping it the whole time. So now it's impact, like, and then their hand is like been squeezing for so long, it has to relax at some point.
So the opposite.
So sometimes the opposite will happen. If you're death gripping the whole time, right, and then you go to hit it and you're like, or you hit it and it just wiggles in your hand because you're not sure exactly when to firm up. If you're tight the whole time.
Interesting. I've never heard of that one before. Okay, I get it. Now, so in numbers, we're pretty much around a 3, right, into about a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 7 on impact,
on contact,
and then
loose at the finish.
Then loosen right after the ball leaves into back into a 3 or a 2. Then
right, like when you're catching, if you catch your follow through, then you're going to catch it. You should be relaxed when the racket's going into your hand.
Okay.
Or if you have, say, a different follow through where you're over here, you're still going to have to get the left hand back on the grip or on the throat, depending if you have a one hand or two hand backhand.
Let's show some of it.
3, 4, 5. 3, 5, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to 2.
Forget that one. I forgot how to feed. Well, Coach Rob, how would it look if you did a 7-8 the whole time?
The whole time? Okay, sure.
Let's see what that would look like. All right. So I'm going to let Coach Rob rest his arm for 1 second here. So what did the 7-8 feel like the whole time from start to finish?
The Tin Man?
The Tin Man.
I felt like the Tin Man. All the bicep, all the muscles were just firing. I was squeezing as hard as I could. I had you could see there was no relaxedness. There was no whip on the shot. Okay. It was all just muscling and trying really hard, trying to be as tight as I could.
Right. So, guys, if you suffer from pain, did you look just like the Tin Man? Did you look just like Coach Rob? That's what's causing it. Okay? Now, let's see if we could do one last one, but let's do 3s to 4s at impact 5 at the most. So looser, the other end of the spectrum.
Drag it. Here we go.
There you go. So, Coach Rob, how did the 3, 4, 5 feel?
Those felt a little more natural. Felt a little bit easier. Not as much pressure and tension in the arm and in the elbow, and way more relaxed.
Right. So when you teach your kids, do you actually go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or how does it go?
I don't usually use the number system like that. I usually just say, hey, can we relax our follow through? So they know, okay, I have to be relaxed at the end. Hey, can we watch the ball longer and make a good finish? Can we take it back early so we're relaxed taking it back? Right?
So do you ever say, don't grip it so tight?
All the time, mostly to the adults.
Oh.
Because they're coming out, they're really trying hard. They're like, all right, I'm excited. I'm out here. I got my lesson. I'm going to be so good. I'm going to try so hard. And so their bodies want to try harder, makes them stiffer, more rigid. So it takes them a little bit to like, okay, let's not squeeze the grip so tight. Let's be loose. And then they get some fluidity back because they stop trying so hard.
So basically, during an adult lesson, you don't get they don't really grasp it until the end once they get too tired of holding it with the death grip.
A little bit, right.
Okay.
Once they can kind of feel, because it's the human nature is like they want to do well, they want to try, they're learning, they're like got all this information, they're thinking about all these things, and you're like, your swing needs to be fluid and smooth, and you're going to hit a lot of balls. You can't do it death gripping. It's just your arm hurts, your shot doesn't have the snap that you want.
I'm surprised that the kids don't have that problem.
The kids are like, hey, let's go hit, let's go play. They're not thinking, they just want to play.
Got it.
They're like, brains are off. They've been in school all day. They're like, let me go play, I want to go hit, right? Where the adults are like, I've been thinking about this lesson all day, I can't wait. I really got to learn this. I really got to try hard to make it right. And
so you're telling me not to try so hard. You're telling them not to try so hard.
There's a lot of times where you come out and you try too hard. It's hard to get smooth and fluid.
Got it. All right. Cool. Guys, don't try so hard. Smooth, fluid.
Swing easy. Let the racket do the work.
Loose.
The rackets nowadays have plenty of power. You don't need extra juice.
Okay, guys.
When you're learning and when you're trying, you're just relax. Obviously, when you're playing and you're competing, you're going to firm up. You're going to hit it a little harder. You're going to try a little harder. But when you're practicing and you're working on your game, you don't need a death grip.
Got it. Try less. Firm up less. Way less. Okay? So we taught you how tight you should grip the racket, and at what, like we simplified it with numbers for you guys. Okay, so try that. I want everybody to actually try 3, 4, 5, and not because you're naturally going to go to 7 is my guess anyways, but try 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 at impact, and then back to, so do this 3, 4, 5, 3, 2. So after impact, go back to 3, 2. All right.
And you can video yourself and see how the differences and they look. And you can see yourself. Well, I'm squeezing really tight. That doesn't look as smooth. Then you relax your hand and like, oh, okay, that looks smoother. The racket's doing more of the work.
Got it. All right. So I want to thank my man, Coach Rob, for showing us the way in how tight you should, or how loose you should grip the racket. Thank you, Coach Rob.
Sure.
Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.
Hey man, you can tell he been through some emotional damage. No man, you look like you went through hell and back. You need some AP tennis. That's what you need.
I have some emotional damage.